Hi, I'm Eric Michael Cap for Australian Racing Review, and in this episode we're going to take a look at last Saturday's feature races at Flemington and Randwick. We're going to analyze the results, see if we can find a few horses to follow. So let's kick off with the Grade 1 feature, the George Main Stakes, which was won by Winx, and what a phenomenal performance. For the third time this season, she looked like she was in trouble. She was being scrubbed up at the 600. They went so fast in this race. And just like she always does, she found a way to win, storming home down the outside to beat Happy Clapper comfortably again in the end. They ran, I think it was 133 for the 1600 meters, which was a race record. And when you consider that this race has been won by some of the best horses ever to race in Australasia, Kingston Town Sunlight, it shows you just how good a performance this was by Winx. Phenomenal. The early pace setters, they knocked up and ran last and second last, respectively. Happy Clapper, great run by him. He's the pre-post favorite now for the Epsom at 5-1. He's been placed, I think, in a couple of Doncasters and a Queen Elizabeth. He deserves a Group 1 feature at Randwick, so he's certainly the horse to beat there. Winx, it looks as though she may stay in Sydney and not go to Melbourne. I would have thought that she probably goes to the Caulfield Stakes, a big Group 1, 2 weeks before the Cox Plate. But she may stay in Sydney for either the Hill over, I think, 1750 or 1800 metres, or the Cravenay Plate over 2,000 metres. The prize money for those races have gone up, but they're still not Group 1 races. If she was mine, she'd be in Melbourne going for the big Group 1 races, but she's not, and I'm not the trainer. So we'll see where she goes. I think she's definitely looking for longer, and I mean, she's finished that race. She's run the last 1200 in 107.6, which is phenomenal. Just to put that into perspective, Black Caviar ran 107.36 for the Newmarket. That's the Newmarket handicap race record held by the best horse sprinter we've ever seen, and Winx has run just outside that for her final 1200 meters over a 1600 meter race at Randwick. Phenomenal. She's amazing. So horses to follow, obviously Winx, Happy Clapper, and I thought Fox Play ran a reasonable race again. She was up on the pace. She had about a month off between runs. I think if she could find a race around 1400, 1600, I'm not sure if they'll keep her in Sydney or maybe take a look at a race like a Rupert Steele in Melbourne or the Toorak. I think she'd be hard to beat in a race like that with a lower weight on her back. So those are the horses to follow from the George Main. The shorts, well, great performance by Red Zal, just as I thought he would do. He's run a track record. I know they're running a lot of track records right now in Sydney. They're calling the tracks good 3, but they're really fast 2s. He was phenomenal, but you'd have to be blind to miss the runner Chautauqua, who's stormed home. The Grey Flash, he's come from last. He's run 5th, another 100 meters. He probably wins the race. He's still the favorite for the Everest, and rightly so. He's run his last 632 flat. He'll probably run again in 2 weeks and then go straight into the Everest. And when you think about the speed that's in that race, boy oh boy, he's going to be hard to beat in the Everest. He's the favorite. I think he'll win. But moving forward, English, she ran a reasonably good race. She was 3 wide without cover for a lot of the run, battled on well. She'll improve. So Chautauqua, the horse to follow out of that, and I think Red Zal, English, both strong place chances in the Everest and whatever they contend in next. The T-Rose, the 1400 meter race for the fillies, won by Stern's little sister, Elise. Good solid run. She was just too good in the end for Champagne Cuddles, another second placing for her. The Queenslander ran 3rd in that, Cellar Girl. That was a good run. She really got home to the line strongly. In fact, I would think the Flight Stakes over a mile will be right up her alley. I'm not sure where Elise is going. There's some questions as to whether or not she can run a mile. She may not go to the Flight Stakes. Champagne Cuddles may actually run in the Group 1, the Golden Rose, which is interesting. Again, Stellar Girl, good run. Tulip, only fair. I thought she was a little disappointing. She was on the fence. Maybe she needs a little bit more room to stretch out, but she was only fair for mine. So horses to follow out of this. You know, I'm going to say Stellar Girl. I thought her run was good. She'll appreciate the mile, whether she goes to the Flight Stakes or 1,000 Guineas and maybe even longer races like the Wakeful Stakes. So that's the Tea Rose Stakes. Moving down to Melbourne, the feature there was the Makybe Diva over 1,600 meters, won brilliantly by Humidor. He was expected a little bit longer odds. I think a lot of people thought, you know, he had a chance to run a place. I don't think anyone thought he would do what he did. He's blitzed them. He's won by 3 lengths. Wow, he's run his last 200, 11.89. He's now the new favorite for the Caulfield Cup over Hartnell, who he's going to meet 2 kilos better in the Caulfield Cup. So tough to see Hartnell turning the tables on him, although Hartnell did have some excuses. He had to work hard early on in the race. He was 3 wide. They went very, very fast. So it wasn't surprising that he didn't have a whole lot of left in the tank. And if you look at the leaders, Hey Doc, he's knocked up. Laura Moraine, who was up on the pace, he's knocked up as well, although he had some heart issues in the post-race vet exam. So, you know, I think he'll improve from that. They're going to give him a little time to recover. Outside of that, Blackheart Bart, he ran a good race. He also was wide, 3 wide without cover for a lot of the race. He's battled on gamely. A Galo Chop, a good run for him. He might be hard to beat if he steps back in a handicap class in a race like the Toorak over a mile. Ventura Storm ran a nice race. John Snow, he was fair. I think he'll do better over a longer journey, but a hair disappointing as well. So out of this race, certainly Humidor, the horse to follow, but I'm going to stick with Hartnell as well. I think that maybe a race like the Caulfield Stakes, if Wink stays in Sydney over 2,000, and keep in mind the Caulfield Cup, he's going to be on the pace. Humidor, who looks like he's mended his tendency to lay in. He's going to get back. Caulfield's a little bit tighter than Flemington. You know, you never know. Luck can sometimes play a big role in the outcome of these races, especially when you get big fields in these handicaps. So next up, the Danehill, and a tremendous win by Catchy. Wow, she was flattened at the start when Summer Passage came across. She recovered, went down the outside, and has just stormed home. Way too strong for them. She's going to go, it looks like she'll run in the Guineas Prelude for the fillies over 1,400, and then either the 1,000 Guineas for the fillies or the Caulfield Guineas for the colts. In fact, if you listen to Hayes, the trainer, he was leaning to the $2 million Caulfield Guineas over the $500,000 1,000 Guineas, and I can't blame him. She's beaten the colts now several times, and she's a big, strong filly. Really, nothing much you could say outside than she's the horse to follow. Jukebox, solid run. He did run out. He did lay out under pressure. Williams suspended for I think 21 meetings, and rightly so, because of the interference that led to the fall there. Limestone falling in the concluding stages. Booker, a good run. She'll probably go to the 1,000 Guineas from there, and she'll be a good each way chance in that. But all honors with the winner, and she's the horse to follow. Bobby Lewis, well, Redkirk Warrior, what can you say? He's blitzed them again down the straight. He loves the straight at Flemington. They did go slow early, so it was kind of a sit and sprint, and when he sprinted, he just left them standing. Brilliant win. Hayes, the trainer, thinks that this is a horse who, maybe not this prep, but next prep, he wants to step up in distance. He's won over 1.25 miles, so he thinks he'll make a really good middle distance horse. But for now, he's going to go to the Everest most likely. And look, he's got to have a heck of a chance in that. I mean, his wins in this race and the Newmarket were brilliant. Although it's going to be a very different race. It's not going to be a sit and sprint. There's going to be a ton of pace on in that race. But listen, outside of Chautauqua, he's got to be one of the main chances in that. Voodoo Lad, he was only fair for mine. Scales of Justice, probably the other horse to follow. He got to the line very well. He's kind of ducked in the straight. He's wobbled all over the place. If he went straight, he's probably finished a little bit closer. He's going to appreciate a step up to 1400, probably a race like the Rupert Steele for him. And well, that's it. Sosi Bon, he was only fair. He may want longer as well. Outside of that, a couple of the other standouts. Raw Symphony, what a performance by him. That was a Lonhro-like. Checked. He was crawling over the back of them, had nowhere to go, finally got out. You thought he'd run second. He's just finished sensationally to get up and win. He's the ruling favourite, I think 3-1 for the Caulfield Guineas, and rightly so. Outstanding. He'll either go to the Guineas Prelude over 1400 or the Bill Stutt over 1600 at the Valley, which I think is most likely. That's where he'd be going if he's mine. And who knows, this is a horse who may even get a run in a race like the Cox Plate if he continues to improve. But his performance was exciting, and I think the post-race interview with Dwayne Dunn, who rode him, was drawing some comparisons to All Too Hard, who beat Pierre on a Caulfield Guineas and ran second to Ocean Park in a Cox Plate. So exciting colt, brilliant win. And then Almaden, wow, what a run by him. I tipped him to win. In fact, I tipped the trifecta in that. But I didn't think he'd win like that. He's just blitzed them. Boy, oh boy. He's now the ruling Melbourne Cup favourite. He's also, I think, on the second line of betting for the Caulfield Cup. They've changed the conditions now where if a horse wins that and they've got over 56 kilos in the Melbourne Cup, they're not liable for a penalty. So all kinds of options for him. We'll see where they go. He could go in the Bart Cummings or Herbert Power, the Moonee Valley Cup as well. But now that, let's say, with the change in the Caulfield Cup, he's in there. And again, if he's mine, he's going to the Caulfield Cup if he was mine. So Almaden, certainly a horse to follow out of that. Other performances on the day, forget Emily Starr went around. She had no luck in that. She'll be better over a mile, over a longer journey, over 2,000. She may run in the naturalism. The Answer My Friend, very impressive. Again, fought over some of the handicaps. He might have a chance, although I don't think they're going to let him sit there on the soft lead. He got a very soft lead there. I'm a Star, no luck in that race. Forget she went around. She was held up in the straight. She had a big weight. Good performance by the winner. She's a good filly. She was a very good 2-year-old. But again, they went very slow in that race early, and she was able to sprint away. I think the horse, the runner-up there, Swampland, she may have a win in her over the Carnival. So those are my thoughts on the meeting. This week we're going to Caulfield, and then the big race, the Golden Rose. We've got Minari, the favourite, at $2. He has drawn out in Barrier 11 over Barrier at $6, who's also drawn out in 12. The Melbourne Colt, Merchant Navy, at $8. He was probably one of the only fancy runners who drew an alley. He's at 2. Gold Standard, who's drawn out again in 10 and Assimilate 13. The filly Formality, again, no luck at she's drawn out in 13, but $17, which I think is overs for her. So we'll talk about that in our next episode. So this is Eric Michael Capp for Australian Racing Review, and we'll be back in a couple of days with our preview for the big races coming up this Saturday, the Golden Rose, the meeting at Caulfield. So if you like this video, please like it. Please go ahead and subscribe to our channel. And we'll be back with more racing from Australia over the coming days and weeks.